everyone. Welcome back to the Retro Gamer Chronicles. This is Eric for GMR.
This is David, the lame dad.
And I'm laughing when I say that because I still struggle with like the Retro Gamer Chronicles at times. But
And when we first kind of started doing this, I had a terrible time with Sarah Connor Chronicles and wanted to put files in there for whatever reason.
like not X-Files, yeah. No. It happens. But no, this is episode number 4. Can't believe it. But we're here for episode 4 of the RGC. We're going to cover episodes 5 and 6 of the Sarah Connor Chronicles. So Queen's Gambit and Dungeons and Dragons. Well, great. I'm not talking about the card game. It's the actual name of the episode.
It's hard to believe. I started thinking about this earlier. We're more than halfway through season 1.
I know it really is crazy because we just talked back, about it a few days ago. Like I feel like we just started having conversations around having the show and talking about it and watching the show. And it's really cool. And I'm really happy that we're doing it. We got some great feedback on last week's episode. That was, I think, our funniest one and just more entertaining. It was a longer watch, but it was awesome.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Had a good time with it.
Awesome. So we'll go ahead and get started here, and you guys can follow along with us. Hopefully you're up to episode number 5. And this one is Queen's Gambit. So we'll run us through kind of just like the scenes, and we'll kind of go through and discuss as we go through. So it starts out with 15 years in the past, deep within a South American jungle. A young Sarah Connor trudges her way to a camp and then watches the then 8-year-old John Connor play chess with an old soldier as part of his strategy training. So kind of telling the story of John Connor and how he's come up through the ranks and whatnot.
So this is little John, not like little John, but little John is played.
It's perfect. I'm going to put a great little sound effect in there.
But little John here is played by John DeVito. And I was curious when I found that out. I had to go look it up. Like, hey, is this guy Danny DeVito? Maybe, but no, they're not related. So this is a young Sarah Connor, right? She doesn't look any different,
right? Yeah, Lena Headey didn't really age any different.
No. And so he's out in the middle of the jungle, like Predator style, right? Like this is like reminiscent of Arnie with Predator 1, out in the jungle, just
get to the chopper,
playing chess.
Yes, playing chess in the jungle. It's funny. I actually just recently watched like all the Predators again.
Nice.
Oh man, those such a good movies. Part 2 is not that great. I mean, the first was obviously the best one, and some of the newer ones were not horrible, just like not great. But sorry, off topic. But yes, straight up Predator in the jungle. John Connor doing some strategy training. So we go back to present day. Sarah is doing her rigorous exercise training and a handful of vitamins, and prepares lunches for John and Cameron before they go to school. So then Andy Good calls and asks Sarah to meet him at Pasadena. So basically what happens is that she finds out. So obviously she burned his house down. He doesn't know that she burned his house down. And he basically recreated the Turk. So the Turk lives and is now entering a chess tournament.
Right. And so apparently, John makes the comment that Andy Good is writing this code because it's just part of him. The Turk was burned down with the house on fire, but Andy is obviously very passionate about what he's doing with this and this project. And so he builds another one. And when you're watching this video, when you're seeing the machine that he built, the first Turk was a mess. It was just computer wires, computer parts everywhere. And then this Turk, the Turk 2 or whatever they're calling it, this Turk looks like a NAS, like a network storage unit. It's just a small little box with a few hard drives in it. It's like, okay.
Yeah. I'm just looking something up real quickly because something just clicked as I was reading through this script. And I'm just trying to see here if I can find something quickly. Did we ever talk about Cameron being Cameron and James Cameron? I mean, I'm assuming that they named Cameron after James Cameron.
That's an excellent point. Yeah, I like it.
I just thought about that. I'm like, her name's Cameron. I'm like, obviously she wasn't in any of the actual original movies. So I'm wondering if maybe they called her Cameron after him, just a small, I can't find anything quickly, but that's just interesting. Right. So the computer has been created. The Turk is back up and running again in a different form. So Sarah tells John that she's going to go ahead and meet Annie in Pasadena, and Cameron and John go to meet her there after school. Now, next scene, Charlie Dixon's home. Cromartie, disguising himself as FBI agent Kester, asks Charlie the whereabouts of Sarah and John. Cromartie voices suspicion that Charlie is harboring Sarah and John. However, Charlie swears he didn't and acts upset at the way that Cromartie is behaving. As far as he knows, Sarah Connor blew herself up in a bank vault 8 years ago. And obviously we know that he did see John. Cromartie then leaves his business card asking Charlie and his wife to call if they have any information.
It was good to see Charlie get back into the show because he's been missing the last couple of episodes.
Yep.
And so it was good to see him come back into it. An ultimate cheese factor here. I mean, good God, man. Like Cromartie is acting. He's acting the part and he's doing a fantastic job with it.
He's a robot. Like he's
killing it.
Oh, he's killing it. And I'm telling you, as the series goes on, it gets even better. But no, he does a great job of just acting like kind of like we're Cameron. I think I would even say he's better than Summer Glau as the robot. But yeah, dude, hilarious. Like it just reminds me of like Arnie, like when he has no sense of humor because he's a freaking robot.
Yeah, he's killing it. And I agree. He's better than Summer Glau in this role.
It's funny because it almost makes you forget that he's acting in that way on purpose. You'd almost think that he's like not a good actor, but like that's legitimately what he's supposed to be doing is playing a robot.
Yeah, he is a fantastic actor for playing this role this deep.
Yep.
It's crazy how in character he is. And I have to imagine acting this way as an actor, you really have to just train yourself to just show no emotion,
right?
In the way you talk, your facial expressions, all of that.
Going against everything they probably were taught in acting school,
exactly.
Don't show any emotion. That's got to be freaking hard, So right after he leaves, we see Charlie's wife. Obviously, he's married, and she's pretty upset that she could tell that he was lying to the agent. They don't know he's obviously a robot. They think that he's, legit FBI agent, and she can feel that he's lying. He doesn't. Charlie then told her that John came by to their home weeks ago. He doesn't have a plan of how to deal with Sarah coming back into his life again. So he does own up to it, but she kind of called him out just like any wife would. She can tell that he was full of
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, she let him know, don't lie to me. And she makes some little, dumb speech or whatever about I'm not that girl. Don't make me this girl. But yeah, right. She knows he's full of
right. She knows. She knows. All right. So then we go on to Sarah arrives in a convention hall full of robots and computers. Andy arrives and shows her his rebuilt prototype. This new version is now more adaptable, less predictable, and more eager to learn than the previous one. So Dimitri, which is Andy's partner, we're going to know more about Dimitri in a few. Andy's partner, they taught the Turk how to play chess, and he tells Sarah that the winner of the tournament will get a cash prize and a military contract. So now here comes in Cyberdyne and all the information, it's all kind of coming together in Sarah's head. She's ultimately thinking, man, I should have killed him when I had the chance. And that might be coming back to bite her at this point.
We talked about this a couple episodes ago, right? Whenever she burned out, would come back to bite her at some point. I didn't think it would be this early in the season, but good stuff though.
Yeah, it's happening. So, okay, so they split the money of the deal. Sarah is then slightly disturbed by how things are going with the Turk. So again, she's starting to get a little frustrated there. Then we go back and we see in school, students place notes and flowers around a memorial for Jordan Cohen. She's the girl that jumped in last week's episode that we discussed. Cameron does not understand why people would write notes to the dead, and John explains it is one of the ways that people deal with sadness. John then talks to Sherry, but she's the girl we met last week as well, but she leaves after a brief talk. So again, she's learning the emotions of humans and, why people cry. Again, like Arnie from T2, why do you cry? Things like that. So you mean people?
Yeah.
I can do quotes all day.
We're not going to make it, are we?
Yeah. What? All right. So, all right. So in auto class, the two American students argue about a piece of equipment. John steps in to help one of them, named Morris. This is Morris. So John and Morris immediately become friends. And afterward, Morris mentions that he saw John with Sherry, and his advice to John is that he should stay away from her because her father has her on lockdown. That was a little bit of an awkward scene, I felt like.
Very much so. And I feel like the Sherry scenes are kind of awkward. But I like this scene in the aspect that we see, John runs over and starts speaking in Spanish to break these two up. And
Yes.
it's just kind of like the whole Uncle Bob thing, where John has spent some time in Mexico, with Sarah when he was younger. And you can see in the scene that these two Hispanic guys are impressed that he can speak Spanish.
Right. Yes. Yep. They were not expecting that from him. So that was cool. Sarah watches the chess tournament as the Turk competes with another artificial, intelligence program created by Japanese developers. Sarah notices a stranger entering the auditorium who she finds alarmingly familiar. John and Cameron arrive at the convention hall, with Cameron looking over the robots throughout the auditorium curiously. Sarah informs John of the military contract, tells him to cheer on the Japanese or Cameron will kill Andy. When the Japanese team loses its queen, it appears that Andy may soon win the game, but lose his life. However, the Japanese make a sudden move, placing the Turk in checkmate. Sarah then heads to Andy's hotel room and bumps into the man who was lurking in the auditorium. So this man, I guess we can say, we won't say who it is, but it's Brian Austin Green. Brian Austin Green's character now is introduced. We don't know who he is at this point, but we can kind of assume that he has something to do with the future or just like in general. So then she opens the door and she finds Andy dead. She then chases after the man, Brian Austin Green, and tackles him in an alley. The man breaks free, but then finds himself surrounded by the police with no choice but to center himself. Sarah, upset over Andy's death, takes it very hard. So that actually was a really intense scene. When Brian Austin Green's character gets arrested, I'm like, what's he going to do to get out of this? Like, he's got guns. What's he going to do? And he eventually just lays down and gets arrested.
I mean, with, no record in the system, right? No ID.
Yep.
Obviously. I'm with you. How is he going to get out of this? But at this point, as I'm seeing like the Sherry scenes kind of start to unfold a little bit, and then this guy come into the scene, it's like, okay, here are two more characters that are coming into this universe that we're seeing Charlie now back in this episode. So we have all these different character plots that are starting to kind of unwind and develop.
Yeah, it's almost like a better term, it's like a soap opera. There's a lot of different storylines open up at the same time. A lot of things going on. So the writing is really starting to kind of come into its own, I guess. We'll talk about this too later on, but we did talk about earlier that it does kind of feel like some of this stuff in these two episodes, maybe a little bit of filler, like they kind of maybe made it longer than it had to be. But there is some good storytelling going on as well. All right. So the next day, John hacks into the country's law enforcement database. Hey, John, just go hack into the FBI mainframe, bro. Like, no big deal. He pulls up the image of the stranger Sarah fought last night. They're able to identify him as a resistance agent, one of John's best soldiers in the future, thanks to Cameron. Just Cameron knows who he is.
Yes.
A T-88, 888 Terminator, the same one who posed as a resistance fighter in Northeast Seaton, there's that word again, also hacks into the database. The Terminator then walks up to a pair of talking police officers and attacks one, purposely getting himself arrested. So now, yeah, go ahead.
So I'm glad that you put this in here because I knew that this Terminator, this T-888, looked really familiar, but I couldn't picture where he was from, and I thought that was the original Cromartie, but it's not. This is the guy from Northeast Seaton, the guy that they first fight at some point in that episode.
Right. He's the one that is in like the safe house that they fight after they find the 3 dead bodies of the other resistance fighters. Yep. All right. So then at school, oh yeah, one thing I want to say about that too. So around that, I like that scene too, just because like obviously like they're looking to Cameron because she obviously is from the future, so she knows who these people are. She knew who Brian Austin Green character is that we're going to find out soon. More about that. And then we jump over to school. Cameron goes to see one of the school counselors. The counselor asks Cameron what Jordan talked about before she passed away. And then she repeats the conversation and knew that Jordan was upset about the graffiti. Cameron then leaves the office, leaving the counselor concerned just because of her, like, she's a robot, people.
Super awkward.
Super
cheese conversation between her and the counselor.
Yep.
And you can tell he's just as much thrown off as she is. Oh, he's just as confused.
As so like doesn't know what to say, like just so confused. So then in the county jail, the stranger sits across from Agent Ellison, and the agent shows him the photo from his apartment. Ellison then asks the stranger about the strange blood-like substance found in the apartment, hoping to find an answer. The stranger knows that Ellison won't believe him, but does give him a grin, warning that everyone is about to die. As Ellison leaves, he walks past the T-888. So that's kind of where, like, this character, Brian Austin Green, we're starting to see that, okay, this guy's probably from the future. He knows a little bit what's going on here.
For sure.
All right, moving along. We're doing good here. Moving along. So outside the county jail, Sarah, in a business suit now, is talking to the counselor on her cell phone about Cameron's strange behavior. Sarah then hangs up on him, and she walks into the interrogation room where she poses as a lawyer for the stranger. Now, okay, she just gets past security and goes into the, posing as a lawyer. Like, I guess she could make up ID, but she maybe went to Carlos's nephew and got some fake IDs or something.
Easily. She walks smooth past guards, whatever. And her hair, is that a wig that she's wearing in that scene?
I can't remember.
Or is it just pulled up?
It might have just been pulled up. I can't remember.
Super cheese.
Yes,
super cheese.
Super cheesy. We love that word. I'm going to get you some cheese for Christmas, David.
Nice.
All right. So the stranger admits that he knows who Sarah really is. He tells Sarah that he didn't kill Andy. He just wanted to destroy his prototype. And Andy was dead before he got into his room and the prototype had been stolen. He begs her to leave because he knows the AAA is after him. The stranger tells Sarah that his brother carried her photo for luck. The stranger introduces himself as Derek Reese. She realizes that he is the brother of her deceased lover, Kyle Reese, and the paternal uncle of John Connor. Bum, bum, bum.
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, man.
Dun, dun. Yeah, so I wanted to see, because again, you just saw this the first time today. Did you kind of know, like, did you know that he was the uncle? Did you see some things, maybe some like spoilers beforehand, or you didn't know?
No, I didn't know. And I really tried to stay away from everything when doing research or working on this. And even like searching and finding and working on thumbnails, there's so many different scenes that I see that I have to kind of block out, that I don't want to spoil things.
Right.
But I did not know that he was going to be Uncle Derek. Didn't know that he was going to be Kyle's brother. But I think it's an awesome turn to the story, or twist to the story, that they're just continuing to expand on the universe that James Cameron built. And it's just awesome to see this canon grow.
Yeah, and that's kind of where, like, why I like the show so much, is just because, again, I didn't really see that coming when I first saw it. And then when I was watching it again, the past couple of weeks, getting caught up again, oh yeah, like I forgot about some of these things, and I forgot about like him, his brother. And obviously now we know that Sarah knows, John does not know yet. So this is just cool stuff that kind of gets unraveled as we go throughout these next couple episodes. So that was pretty cool. The next scene, we see John trying to talk to Sherry, but she shuns him, then walks to her father's car. Sarah arrives and informs John and Cameron that they have a mission, and it kind of fills them in on where they are. Now, next scene, in the transport van, Derek begins to lockpick his handcuffs, which again, I feel like he does pretty damn effortlessly. Sarah then chases the van, and Cameron jumps on the transport and stops the guards. After they take the van, they see in the rear mirror that the T-888 is chasing them. Cameron engages in combat with the cyborg, and during the struggle, the T-888 loses an arm after Sarah edges the van near a truck. The T-888 seems like it may defeat Cameron, but Sarah fires her pistol to distance the Terminator, giving Cameron a chance to break free. Terminator shoots Derek. Cameron hits the Terminator with a metal pipe, taking the cyborg down, and with John's help, extracts the CPU from his exposed metal skull.
This was a cool scene. Not only do we get to see a Terminator fight, but there's that moment when she goes to pull the CPU from his head where you can see that Cameron's thinking about something. Just the way she does it, it's a cool scene.
Yeah, this is really cool. And that CPU kind of comes back and plays a big role in the next few episodes, which is kind of cool too. So the group take Derek back to their house. His injury is beyond Cameron's capability to treat. So he did get shot throughout the scuffle. Derek gets shot pretty badly. So realizing that Derek needs immediate medical attention, Sarah plans to kidnap a doctor. John argues with her, and Sarah reveals to him that Derek is John's brother, therefore his paternal uncle. Overwhelmed, John runs out of the house. At this point, when he runs out of the house, did you know who he was going to go get? Did you had a feeling that they were going to go get Charlie?
No, I didn't. And I feel like I should have seen that coming. I feel like that's something that, but I didn't know though. I didn't know.
No, of course.
I mean, Sarah's getting ready to go kidnap an ER doctor. And right. I'm thinking that John's jumping the gun and he's going to get a doctor.
Right. Because now he knows, like, hey, this is my uncle. I don't want him to die. So before Charlie comes in, I kind of just spoiled it a little bit, but it's fine. Ellison goes over the events with the guards. At the scene, he finds the remains of a severed and mutilated T-888 arm and looks strangely at it. So now this is going to play a big role in the next couple episodes too. They have like evidence. They've never really had evidence of Terminators and stuff before, like in their possession. So he's got a hand that they're like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, so I imagine that Ellison has read and knows the Sarah Connor Chronicles, so to speak, from whenever she was locked up before. And so, yeah, now he has some evidence and things should start to kind of fall into place.
100%. So then Sarah does everything she can to keep pressure on Derek's wound. While Cameron is writing a note, Derek suddenly stops breathing as John returns home with Charlie behind him. Charlie pauses after seeing Sarah, then begins to perform CPR on Derek. And this is where the episode ends, I believe, and leaves like that cliffhanger of like, is he going to live? Is he not going to make it? So ultimately, what were your thoughts on this episode before we jump over to Dungeons and Dragons?
I thought this one was an okay episode. It did feel like there was a lot of filler. I'm not a huge fan of them bringing in multiple characters at once and kind of just a big shotgun blast of everything. Obviously, the Sherry chick is going to play an important role at some point. Obviously, Charlie's now is heavily involved, and we're going to see Ellison's character really develop as well as this guy Derek, if he doesn't die. Right.
So exactly.
It's a lot to take in at once.
There's definitely a lot going on, and it's one of those things where like, yeah, you kind of just, that's why watching it again too for me was cool, just because it's like, okay, there's things I missed the first time around, or that kind of stuff. So one thing I will say too, that I believe, yes, it's the episode. So for our next week's episode, when you watch episode number 7, it's going to blow your mind. There's a lot of really cool things in that episode. A lot of good lore coming back. So yeah, it's going to blow your mind. Like legit. We'll see it blow up. All right. So that's our episode number 5. So for episode number 6, this is Dungeons and Dragons. So we're going to go through that one here. So scrolling down a bit. So now this scene starts out. So there's going to be a lot of, we talked about it before, a lot of flashbacks in this one. There's going to be a lot of flashbacks. We're going to see some new characters introduced again in the majority of flashbacks and discussion. But Derek's first flashback reveals the future world is a nightmare landscape, which we're used to seeing from like, T2 and T1. And with rubble everywhere and ruin, where people hide from the machines in underground tunnels and only come to the surface to engage in combat. We see Kyle Reese and Derek shown as soldiers fighting Skynet alongside two other soldiers named Sales and Billy Wisher. When they come to the surface, they are attacked by a pair of HK VTOLs and separated from Kyle and are captured by a Terminator. They are taken to an old house where one of the more primitive rubber-skinned Series 600 Terminators fuses a barcode on each fighter's arm. This was cool because, again, this is showing we're used to seeing like the T800s or the T888s. Like we're now seeing a T6, Series 600, which again is like a little bit more archaic in that, I guess, day and age.
Yeah, this guy's a train wreck. The rubber skin, it looks terrible. It looks awful. And going through Terminator month and playing through the Terminator Salvation video game, this element is something that they played on, and they called them skin bags. And they're like the very first Terminators that they made with rubber skin or whatever. So it's really awesome to see that they're just pulling in all of this different canon, and it's tying things together really nice.
Yeah, 100%. And I actually, as we're going through this episode, I liked episode number 5, but I think as I'm looking through this and I'm remembering what we watched, I think that this may be like episode 6, maybe like the deepest episode of the series so far. There's a lot of things, and one of the key points of this we kind of find out towards the end of this episode. I just feel like the writing is actually really freaking good for this, like for what the show is. And we'll talk about that, but I really do. I'm excited as I'm going through and like skipping ahead. I'm like, okay, that's what happened in this episode, because it all kind of blends together. But I think I do like this episode a lot. I think it'll give us some good things to talk about. So
I think deep is an understatement for this episode.
It's deep, bro.
It's heavy. Yeah, it's very heavy.
There's that word again. Is there something wrong with the Earth's gravitational pull in the future? Back to the Future. I could do quotes all day, man. Quotes all day. All right. So
nice.
Let's see. While in the holding ground, after being tortured by an unseen Terminator, Wisher confesses to Derek that his real name is Andy Good.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So before I read any further, what did you think of that when you heard that? Obviously, you can see him, like he's obviously got longer hair, and you can kind of figure it out. But that it was kind of covered. And when you hear him say his name, you're like, holy.
Yeah. At this point, like we learned in episode 5, right, that Andy Good was shot.
Mm-hmm.
And again, all these flashbacks. This episode is deep, but here's Andy Good, and so it's kind of like, yeah, Sarah Connor should have killed him. Mm-hmm. This is what I thought was going to come back somehow and bite us. But great writing. Mm-hmm. I agree with you. Just great storytelling that they're doing this.
Yeah. So basically, at that point, Derek tells him reveals himself to be Andy Good, and he admits his role in creating Skynet. His character is like broken down. He's upset. He basically admits that about that. He begs Derek to forgive him. As night passes by, they notice that the machines are dragging a huge turbofan jet engine for something. Derek apparently undergoes the same torture after being taken to the basement, where music is inexplicably playing Chopin's. I'm not even going to read all this stuff, but in C sharp minor. And then basically the actual torture is not shown, but after being taken back upstairs, Derek appears unhurt, but traumatized and semi-conscious. Sometime thereafter, the prisoners awake to find that they have been left alone with a hatchet and left for them to break free of their chains, which at that point, I believe someone says they got what they wanted from us and they left them there. So they're, they can break out, whatever.
So let me ask you, what do you think happened in that room? Because they're talking about this room and there's music playing. And as Derek's approaching the door opens and he hears this music. But just like with Wisher, when he's taking back up, he just seems just out of it. So what are your thoughts? What do you think happened in the room?
I'm wondering if there's something where like I don't know. I know that the Terminators don't have any like. I'm thinking of like X-Men, like telepathy that they can't read their minds. Maybe they're doing something in that room where they're like, I don't know, they're scanning the barcode. They're doing something with like maybe they're cloning them. I don't know, who the heck knows. That's actually a really good point. I didn't think about it too much. What are your thoughts on it?
So I have a theory that it probably isn't worth a hill of beans, but just watching it and seeing what we've seen in the last couple of episodes, maybe they're extracting plasma
Mm, true.
from him and from the other people, just to make
Terminators.
yeah, to make the T-800s.
Right. Because it's the real flesh, it's human blood. So that's actually a really good point. I'm not sure if that is ever discussed further, but I think that probably would make the most sense.
Well, but I don't. But it's not just with this series though, because there's like in Terminator Resistance
Right.
and different aspects of this universe. This thing kind of happens a little bit, and we don't ever really know what happens to these individuals.
Right.
So it's just a theory. It doesn't.
No, I think it's a great theory. That's why we're doing this. This is what it's supposed to be. This great discussion. So when they get back to their base, they find the Terminators have located and attacked it. Where Derek searches for survivors, he cannot find his brother Kyle. So at this point, Kyle went back in time to protect Sarah Connor. So he never really, at that point, knew where he went. And this is kind of again where the writing. This goes back in time all the way down to Terminator 1. And Sarah Connor is being protected at this point by Kyle Reese. So weeks later at a resistance base, Derek recognizes Cameron as a Terminator and nearly shoots her. What does he yell? He yells,
Metal, I think, right?
Metal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Metal. And at that point, he realizes that they, at the same thing, had reprogrammed her. So she now is good. And he's very hesitant to trust machines and all that good stuff. So he's, just doubting all that and everything else there. Let's see. Sometime later, a reprogrammed Terminator malfunctions and starts killing people in the base. Cameron destroys it, telling Derek that sometimes reprogrammed Terminators inexplicably go bad. Did they ever address that in like T2 or T3? I don't think they really ever address that kind of stuff, right?
No, this is the first time that I can really remember anything like that being said.
Right. Same thing. Yeah, I'm like, okay, so did they make that up for this or like, but if anything, I mean, fine. It still works, still fits. A few months later, Derek finds out about the newly developed time portal and agrees to go to the year 2007 with other resistance fighters, the same fighters found dead in the apartment in the episode Nazi Seaton. While explaining the mission to the other soldiers, he sees Wisher, Andy Good, gives a nod implying that he knows what Derek's mission is and accept it as it means of freeing himself from his guilt. So basically at this point, that's so cool. Andy Good knows he's going back in time to kill him in the future, or I guess the past.
He makes a really good, I don't want to say speech, but he makes a really good comment, Derek does, where he says, we can go back and we can fix every mistake.
Mm-hmm.
And like, this is really cool. Just seeing how much the time travel is being just built up. And again, the resistance team going back, it's just awesome canon. It's really fun to watch all this.
Dude, this is like exactly what I wanted. Like when we were talking about this, like when I heard you didn't watch the show, and I'm like, man, I loved that show. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to bring you into this and pull you in. And this is where I really do think the series starts really heating up with a lot of the storytelling in these last two episodes. So this is really, really cool stuff. So the remainder of the episode takes place in the present day storyline, which is 2007. Charlie hesitantly gets reacquainted with Sarah and John. Sarah finally explains to Charlie about the Terminators, and now he's starting to believe what's going on. He's a little hesitant at first, but he starts, understanding. Charlie is bemused by the implausible sounding narrative of Sarah's life, but seems willing to believe her. Charlie also observes Cameron disposing of the T-888 that she terminated in the previous episode. She strips away its flesh, revealing its metal endoskeleton, which Charlie inadvertently stumbles upon in the garage. By this point, he has proved the Terminators exist. He also acknowledges that Cameron is a machine, calling her a very scary robot. Cameron destroys the remains of the TAAA by burning it with the thermite in an improvised cinder block furnace. This destroys all traces of the machine's existence except for its dismembered left hand, which Agent Ellison recovered in the previous episode. And sometime later, does this say here? Doesn't she take the chip?
Yeah, Cameron. So Cameron keeps the chip here, and part of me wants to believe that it has something to do with her comments made to Derek in the future about sometimes Terminators go bad, and maybe that could be a failsafe for her. I don't know, but it's unique to see that she is keeping this. But there's a comment right up here before where Charlie is looking at the endoskeleton, and he's like, if that's a scary robot, then you're a very scary robot. And he calls Cameron out like that.
Yeah. Because like you never would know, like meaning like, you never know, like they're hidden right be, and I would never know that you're a robot kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah, really cool. And then again, one thing that I also maybe call a little BS on is that like, and you'll see this in episode number 6 a little bit more too. I'm sorry, episode 7. She does, I feel like she's showing more emotion as the show goes on. Like when she picks up the chip, I don't know. I just feel like she looks like she's like, I guess she is thinking, she's processing, she's a computer, but I don't know. It just looks a little, I don't know.
You can tell that. I mean, it at least looks like she's giving off the vibe or the, it looks like there's something going on with that.
Yeah. All right. So then later, Charlie and Sarah have an emotional reconciliation, but don't seem to rekindle their prior relationship. Charlie's a married man.
That's
Charlie,
right.
Charlie updates her of Agent Robert Kester, who Charlie doesn't know is really Cromartie posing as an FBI agent. Right. So at this point, like, they do like the normal hug and they try to kiss and then she pulls away and all that, romantic stuff. But I kind of like that they didn't go there. They kind of just like they hinted at it and they didn't use it as like a fail safe that, he's a married guy, like he's moved on, but he still cares for her and John and he wants to help them.
I think that if they would have gone there, like that kind of writing could have undermined all of the great writing they did. Them stopping that was a great decision.
Yep. Now this next scene,
again, like you said, he's a married man. Like, let's not make Charlie into a cheating husband. He's married.
Right, let's not make Charlie a big jerk now. Let's keep this going. So the episode also reveals that John's lineage, specifically his relation to his father, Kyle Reese, is a closely guarded secret. Neither Derek, Kyle's brother, or Cameron are aware that that John's uncle is Derek. So they don't know that. Obviously, John and Sarah know that now. John wants to learn more about his father from Derek. Sarah, however, forbids John from revealing his lineage to his uncle since she distrusts him. We don't know him yet, don't trust him, calling him a stranger, and noting that the future John has not told him about the secret. Derek later recovers from his wounds, and John tells him that Kyle had come back in time to protect him and Sarah and died doing so. Just as he's about to reveal that Kyle is his father, Sarah enters the room, so instead John calls Kyle a hero. I kind of like that. I felt like they immediately could have went there and they could have in that episode revealed it to him. And they don't. And I like that. It's almost like a slow burn.
Agreed. I'm glad that they didn't. That they are at some point, but I'm glad that it wasn't this soon.
Mm-hmm.
I say that they're going to reveal it. I imagine that they are.
They're going to, yeah. They 100% are, yeah. They definitely will. So the last scene of the episode flashbacks to Andy's hotel room. While Andy is still alive, Derek appears to shoot Andy through the head and flees. He did tell Sarah that he did not kill Andy. At this point, we know that he did kill Andy.
Yes, so he has fulfilled the mission he made to Andy before they jumped through time. They need to fix a mistake. Poor Andy.
Right. Well, at the same time too, though, he in the future, Andy knew he screwed up, and he was like, you know what, I want you to kill me, kind of thing. So I think that was pretty deep. But the more so, don't you agree? The more you talk about these episodes, it's almost like it kind of opens up like a lot of different things that happen. And I don't know, I like talking about it because I feel like we can kind of break it down. And I do feel like these were a little bit of filler, but at the same time, pretty impactful episodes.
Agreed. The episode 6 here, we talked about it when we first started this episode. It's deep and it's heavy, and the amount of flashbacks here, there's a lot of storytelling going on within this episode, and it's really kind of progressing the story quite a bit.
It is, and I'm just thinking towards like I just watched episode 7 today to get caught up for next week, and this next episode for 7 is definitely out there. But you obviously we're watching Terminator, so it's science fiction, obviously, but it's out there. But there's a character that's introduced, and the lore continues to grow. I don't think you'll see this coming as far as who the character is. But it's a little crazy, but it's a good episode. And then they're both 2 really good episodes. So I think next week's will also be jam-packed with some good things to talk about. So I'm excited for that.
Oh yeah, awesome. That will be a lot of fun. We are getting very close to wrapping up season 1 now.
You know what's cool too? Our last episode, so episode number 6 will only be 1 episode. So that would be cool. We'll be able to talk about that final season finale as we head into the 22 episode season 2. It's be awesome stuff.
Yes. So, we're getting kind of off here, or I'm getting off here, but I want to say that, and you know more about this than I do, but first season was cut short, I guess, because of a union strike or something like that within the writers' union.
Yep.
So I'm interested to see how season 1 ends, but even more so to see how season 2 picks up.
I can't remember how it ends, with the last episode, what happens, but I do know that season 2 really expands on a lot more stuff, and a lot of things kind of they're laying the groundwork now for a lot of the stories that are going to be told in season 2. And the way it all that's what I'm telling you, man, when this is all done and we finish season 2, you're going to be like, what the hell? I want to watch more of this. And that's where I think a lot of folks just really want to see more, but it's really good. This has been a lot of fun, David. I really like doing this each week. It's a lot, we were talking about it earlier. It's this is one thing that I don't want to push off. I want to be here and do this. It's so much fun to talk about it with you.
It's a lot of fun. It really is. And it's cool to be a nerd by myself. But when I can geek out and we can talk about something that, we both enjoy, that's the Terminator. That's something that's been a part of our lives for so long.
Dude, when you say it like that, it's we grew up with a lot of the different franchises and over the years. And I don't know, I just think when T1 came out in 84 or whatever. So it's our entire lives, we've been hooked into this stuff. So it's good stuff.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
All right. So that will do it for us for episode number 4 of the Retro Gamer Chronicles, as we went through the Sarah Connor Chronicles, not the Sarah Connor Chronicle files.
Jesus. Say
all that 5 times fast.
That stuff. Oh, holy shit. Say that 5 times fast.
That's a lot, man. But no, we really appreciate you guys. We're getting some really good feedback. David is crushing it with the title cards each week. There's some funny ones I know he's working on as we head through the next couple episodes here, but hoping you guys are liking what we're doing. And we do appreciate you guys stopping by and spending some time with us, and we're having a blast. And that's what, we want to put out good content for you. But at the same time, we want to have fun with it. And we want to what we're putting out, not just putting out pointless crap that no one's going to watch. Right, David? Absolutely. And if nothing else, you all got to see in this episode and last week's episode, Michael Jackson has made an appearance. Yes. You like that? I love those. Yeah. I can't do it as good, but yeah, we appreciate you. This has been Eric for GMR. And this is David, the lame dad. Catch you guys next week. See ya.